Topping today's news, government agencies addressing weekend flooding in the southeast Bahamas. The Attorney General gives an update on citizen legislation following the landmark Privy Council ruling. CARICOM leaders meet in Jamaica to discuss possible solutions to the Haitian crisis, and police continue to take high-powered weapons off our streets. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jcn Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. Prime Minister Philip Davis led a delegation including Works and Utilities Minister Alfred Sears and Education, Technical and Vocational Training Minister Glenys Hannah Martin, along with the Ministry of Social Services and other senior government officials to Exuma this morning for initial assessments after significant rainfall since last Wednesday, causing major flooding there. Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister, Miles Laroda, who is also responsible for disaster preparedness, management and reconstruction, updated parliamentarians on the causes of the flooding on those islands.
Officials of the Bahamas Department of Meteorology reported that rainfall in amounts of 8.92 inches were recorded in Exuma on Wednesday, the 7th of June, with an additional 2.73 inches recorded on Thursday, June 8th. It is estimated that an additional 12 inches of rainfall occurred in Exuma over the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday period. Long Island recorded 1.10 inches of rainfall on Wednesday the 7th, 4.90 inches on Thursday, and an additional estimated 6 inches on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. These extreme rainfall amounts led to excessive flooding in Exuma and Long Island. There were also flooding in low-lying areas on other islands in the northwest and central Bahamas.
As this is hurricane season, climate change is playing a significant role in the effects of weather patterns in the country. Residents in Rollville, Farmers Hill, Forest, Barry Tarry, Georgetown, and Rocas Point, Exuma were mostly impacted by the weather system. Minister Laroda noted relief and mitigation efforts for Exuma residents began with activation shelters on the island around 9 a.m. on Sunday, with 11 people being accommodated. He gave kudos to the local government officials who quickly jumped into action.
Personnel from the Ministry of Public Works, the Department of Local Government, and the Water and Sewage Corporation collaborated to determine the swiftest and safest ways to reduce water levels in order to avoid some of the potential hazards associated with floodwater, and that was a priority. Their actions including using heavy equipment to create drain-offs for the floodwater in the ocean. And again, Madam Speaker, the local government played a prominent role in that occurrence. We all would have seen the videos that went viral. And before my agencies contacted me, I was getting almost an hourly update on the situation there and the remedies. And I'd like to thank those gentlemen, and in particular also the leader of that group, the MP for South and Central Eleuthera, and the minister with responsibility for local government. I think Exuma is that example of what could be done on the ground before national resources arrive.
According to Minister Laroda, heavy rains is expected to continue over northwest and central Bahamas, as a trough responsible for the heavy rains is forecasted to linger over the Bahamas until Tuesday.
I take this opportunity to advise citizens, residents, and visitors in these areas to remain vigilant in light of this information and to follow all alerts issued by the Bahamas Department of Meteorology. I further caution all citizens, residents, and visitors in the affected areas to avoid driving or walking through floodwater and/or standing water, as it can be dangerous and can contain many things that can be harmful to an individual's health, including contaminants that may lead to injury and illness.
Prior to his communication in the Parliament, Minister Laroda spoke with reporters in Parliament Square, advising that mitigation efforts are underway to assist those people on the islands affected by the flooding. He gave an update on relief efforts.
The Prime Minister and the Minister of Education is going to Exuma to assess the situation there and also pledge the assistance of the government. I spoke to the Prime Minister last night. He came back early from his trip in Jamaica. I have been in close consultation with Captain Stephen Russell of NEMA, and we spoke last night, we spoke again this morning. He's coordinating efforts. The Lawrence Major is leaving today to go to Exuma. On the Lawrence Major would be pumps to bring relief for the flooding. Some of those pumps will come from the Ministry of Works, of which he has been in close collaboration, and also will come from NEMA that is in possession of 4 of those pumps to alleviate the situation. Captain Russell will travel to Exuma tomorrow.
Also commenting on the matter was Minister of Family Island Affairs, Clay Sweeting.
I think that these islands around the country, a lot of them have low-lying areas. But I can say that we worked fairly quickly through local government along with the Ministry of Works to put tractor services in place to ensure that we alleviated some of the flood areas. We also sent pumps down on the ground yesterday. For us, I think this would ensure that we have pumps on hand in the different communities throughout the islands to ensure that if this happens again, that they are able to pump the water quickly instead of waiting for us to send them from Nassau. But the water should be subsided today. I want to thank the administrator, Bro, as well as the team and local government for working very hard and keeping me up to date to ensure that we was able to remediate and assist persons in Exuma as soon as possible.
Acting Director in the Department of Meteorology, Jeffrey Simmons, says the amount of flooding on Exuma, Cat Island, and Long Island is an extreme example of the effects of climate change.
We have seen flooding of this nature in Exuma. I think it was 2006 Tropical Storm Noel. At that time, you had people at the age of about 80 plus saying they have never seen it. But here we are seeing it again in 2023. Okay, and that's a difference of 7 years. So we see that that these events are now becoming more frequent, and that is what we're talking about when we talk about climate change. When these are considered the event you see in Exuma now, and what you saw in Exuma in 2006, they were known as 100 years event, which means that you, on average, you only see them every 100 years. Now we're seeing it every 7 years. So yeah. So that's what we're talking about, and that's why we need to really expand our human resource base in the Department of Meteorology, encourage our young students now to get into the career of meteorology.
Residents in Exuma, in particular, suffered severe flooding over the weekend, including knee-high floods gushing through the streets and cutting off roads as well. Cars seen submerged underwater that rose high enough to enter into homes, and with fish like barracuda seen here swimming through the streets of Exuma as if they were in the ocean. Similar stories of fish swimming inland were also shared following Hurricane Dorian. Meantime, Opposition Leader Michael Pintard sending his regards to residents of Exuma, Cat Island, and Long Island, as those islands, again, experiencing some extreme flooding. Mr. Pintard says the Free National Movement stands ready to assist.
We are concerned about the residents of Exuma and the Cat Island that we understand was negatively affected, and we are praying for speedy recovery in terms of the government as well as residents moving to clean up and restore persons to normalcy. The FNM is prepared to stand with the government and residents of both Exuma and Cat Island as they restore their lives.
Mr. Pintard goes on to explain the need for more funding from the international community to assist the Bahamas, as we are a low-lying island state vulnerable to natural disasters.
And this particular climatic event was a reminder of how vulnerable we are and why we must take the necessary steps to create a physical environment that protects residents and protect those investments in infrastructure and, of course, human lives. And it further emphasizes our need to continue to petition the international community so that they can deal with us fairly in terms of when we petition them to treat us as a country that is a low emitter of carbon dioxide, and a country that nevertheless is called upon to put in place provisions that are unfair to us financially.
Meanwhile, as we are 12 days into the 2023 hurricane season, as some residents on the Family Islands, particularly Grand Bahama and Abaco, are still recovering from Hurricane Dorian, the FNM leader says the Davis administration has been extremely slow in addressing needs on those islands.
I've said in the House of Assembly over and over, this government has been extremely slow in even touching the lives of those persons who were negatively impacted by Dorian. And despite the challenges we had when we were in office, the worst of our efforts while we were in government is better than the best efforts this government has made in terms of home repairs, assisting persons who have to build back from scratch. The process of recovery has been very slow in both Grand Bahama and in Abaco. We are also concerned about the slow pace at which shelters are being constructed and the way in which the government is dealing with churches. Churches have historically provided shelters, but cannot benefit from the government in a way that is necessary for them to repair their property after it has been used by residents during a climatic event. And so the government has a lot of work to do. We're prepared to work with them. They're generally, unfortunately, not committed to that kind of collaboration, but they have to move faster than they're moving right now.
Children born out of wedlock to non-Bahamian women, but whose father is Bahamian, may be subjected to requiring DNA evidence for proof of parenthood if there is no father's name on the birth certificate. This coming from Attorney General Senator Ryan Pinder, telling reporters that the government is looking into legislative framework.
So what we have been putting in place, or what we're framing, are the rules on how do you demonstrate that the father is the father. Because it's born out of wedlock. Certainly in instances where there's a birth certificate at the time of birth and lists a father, that is prima facie evidence who the father is. The questions arise when there's no father on the birth certificate. And we're looking at a framework for DNA evidence to demonstrate in those situations where the father is not on the birth certificate and the child is born in the Bahamas out of wedlock. How do you prove the father? And so we're looking at DNA evidence to support that. So the rules have been drafted. They're at the Chief Passport Officer for review. They're with the Minister of Immigration for review and comment. And then we will certainly have a public consultation and explain the scope of what we are looking to do.
In wake of the Privy Council's landmark ruling that any child born to a Bahamian man married to the mother or not, they've got a right to citizenship. Attorney General Pinder says he and the Chief Passport Officer, who is also an attorney himself, they have put their efforts towards the drafting of amendments to rectify existing legislation aligning with the Privy Council's landmark ruling.
Drafted and prepared amendments to the passport rules, amendments to the Naturalization Act, and amendments to the Registrar General framework in order to be able to put the institution required to be able to attend to these applications. Cabinet has heard the recommendations of the Office of the Attorney General on how to approach the issue, and we should be rolling that out in very short order. Yeah, I think applications continue to roll in. Remember what the Privy Council decision was very specific. It dealt with Article 6 of the Constitution that addresses the transmission of citizenship when you are born in the Bahamas and one of your parents, at least one of your parents, are Bahamian. The question that arose in that decision was whether a child born out of wedlock to a Bahamian father and a foreign mother, were they entitled to citizenship?
And finally, in this segment, nearly 2 years after Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse was assassinated, and in the midst of escalated tension and violence in the impoverished island nation, several CARICOM leaders and dozens of political leaders from Haiti gathered in Kingston, Jamaica over the weekend to discuss possible solutions to Haiti's ongoing crisis. Dubbed the Kingston Meeting, leaders met on Sunday to discuss the challenges faced by Haitian nationals as the country experiences social, political, and economic turmoil. Chairman of CARICOM, Prime Minister Philip Davis, told leaders at the meeting that the deteriorating situation in Haiti must be addressed, even though the task is not an easy one.
We have come to help, and not because the task is easy. We have come here precisely because the task is extremely difficult. Others can resolve the easy things, but a critical responsibility of leadership is to address these issues which are extremely difficult. The responsibility falls to all of us, to all of you, to make a supreme effort to find an effective solution. The challenges and struggles taking place in the Republic of Haiti have been present for far too long. If there existed a perfect solution, we probably would have found one by now. And so, I think it is important that we recognize that we are striving for may in the end may not be perfect, but will likely be something that in the immediate term is effective, something that saves lives.
Prime Minister Davis reiterated that the solution in Haiti must be led by the people of Haiti. However, he called on leaders to keep trying to find a workable solution, as failing Haiti cannot be an option.
We have heard the many stories of the killings, the rapes, the kidnappings, the wanton acts of violence, the robberies and lootings, and the intimidation of the gangs, which currently plague large parts of Port-au-Prince and other areas of the country. My friends, we are here to help. Ultimately, there must be a Haitian solution led by the Haitian people. We have heard the many cries for help, and we cannot, in good conscience, stand by and watch the continued suffering of the Haitian people. To do nothing violates every notion of decency, every idea of what it means to be a good neighbor and a fellow human being. We believe that a solution can be found, and we are determined to do all that we can to help you find that solution and support its success.
CARICOM has appointed an eminent group of individuals tasked with leading the way on talks regarding Haiti's situation. They include 3 former prime ministers led by Dr. Kenny Anthony of St. Lucia, Perry Christie of the Bahamas, and Bruce Golding of Jamaica. Speaking on behalf of the eminent group on Sunday, Mr. Golding says proposing a fix might make Haiti's situation worse.
Devising a plan to resolve the conflicts, to manage, if not harmonize, the differing interests, to design a pathway, a roadmap, if you will, for an appropriate constitutional framework, a restoration of law and order, where Haiti is ruled by laws and not by men, an executive and a legislature that are established by elections that are free and fair and free from fear, an environment in which all Haitians, no matter what their economic or social status, can feel safe and secure, assured that their fundamental rights and their individual equality are guaranteed and protected by an independent judiciary. No one, not us, not anyone, can do that for you. No one should be allowed to do that for you. And no one should be presumptuous enough to think that they are entitled to do that for you.
Haiti has not only been wrought with social, political, and economic turmoil, but also natural disasters, as just last week the country experienced a 4.9 magnitude earthquake that claimed the life of 4 people, wounding dozens others, and that was in the midst of a deadly flooding as well as cholera. An outbreak of cholera was also happening in that island nation. Meanwhile, since the assassination of President Moise, Haiti is still attempting to have a functioning government. Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry has called for the rebirth of Haiti. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.